Spieler. I teach music in the lower school and direct the Beasley Chorus.
I'm Marshall McCurdy's. I teach upper school history.
And I'm Rachel Teray, and I teach 7th grade science.
It's wonderful to spend time with all of you.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you think some of your priorities in the next year or two will be?
So in my office, there are a variety of priorities that I need to attend to at all times. Specifically, I would say with respect to your work and the academic program, just generally the educational programs within the school, my priority is essentially to keep going the good work that is already well underway here. And specifically, I would say commitment to a very rigorous and broad academic experience for children and vertically coordinated JK through 12. That's such an opportunity here that many schools don't have. I've really loved learning about the imperative here. This came out of a meeting in recent weeks, and it just wasn't something I'd heard up to this point in being at MICDS. But really the imperative that teachers know their students, but that they also help their students to know themselves. And to that, I would add, they insist that their students know one another. And those last two, to my mind, are social emotional formation. Specifically, if you know yourself, that's your emotional formation, understanding who you are, and the insistence that you know the other students around you and that you value them and respect them. That's social formation. So again, I feel like my job in this area of school life is really just to continue good work that is already well entrenched here. And it's one of the reasons I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, Jay, since your role is a little bit removed from the classroom, is the classroom an area that you hope to be able to get back into at any point?
It absolutely is. So I've been a head of school before, as you know, for the last 5 years at Randolph School in Huntsville, and I didn't teach during those 5 years. And I to some extent, I regret that I did not do so. It's something you have to watch carefully as the head because there are so many other demands on your time, and in fairness, to allocate the kind of time that teaching requires toward what is essentially a small subset of the school community, it raises questions about an appropriate allocation of the head's time. But that being said, I think there is an argument that heads who are connected to what I typically will call the beating heart of the operation, right? The teacher-student relationship, the classroom experience. Heads who are connected to that work, I think, are better leaders of their institutions in many ways. So I'm very interested in exploring it. An easy way into getting back into teaching is to look for team teaching opportunities. And then there's also the opportunity to come in and sort of moonlight for a unit or several lessons. So there are opportunities to sort of be involved in teaching. But frankly, over the course of my time here, I would hope to do more and more of it. Yes.
I guess related to the teaching piece, I'm curious to know when you were teaching math or English,
Right.
What was a favorite concept you always loved to teach for a reason, or a strategy that you were always excited about using that you could share with us from your teaching days?
So there's two things come to mind, one from either subject. I remember there were two concepts. I taught Algebra 2. There were two concepts in that course that were just typically very difficult for students, and this is a universal. Any high school math teacher will tell you, that logarithms and the unit circle. And I loved both of those concepts because I was constantly trying to figure out a better way in. What I typically found was it just required more exposure than other units did. And so just repeating the concept, showing different applications for it. With the unit circle, I found myself constantly doing this. Like, okay, here, you're moving through the circle. Like, why are you doing that with your arms? I was like, no, you see a circle, right? Eventually, I'd have to do other things. They weren't seeing the circle, but I enjoyed trying to help them with concepts that I knew were difficult, and it really challenged me as a teacher to find other ways into the material. In English, I taught American literature, so invariably we would read some Robert Frost. And one of Frost's best-known poems, the first line is, "Nature's first green is gold." The neat thing about that poem is there's actually a rest at the end of every line that Frost essentially insists upon. Like, nature's first green is gold. You have to kind of rest. Her hardest hue to hold, you have to kind of rest. And I remember talking to students about why would he build in rest times? And you can find other examples of that. Bob Dylan's Highway 61 revisited that song, has a similar kind of structure. And so we would end up talking about like blank spaces in literature or in other art or in other media. I guess I remember really gravitating toward trying to find different ways into material. That was always interesting to me, and specifically ways that they could relate to. And I was always interested in asking my students, did that work? And if it didn't work, I would go back to the drawing board for the same lesson the next year. So I would love to know, in your eyes, what you find makes MICDS such a special place to work.
I love at MICDS that the word "and" instead of "or" is predominant. And I think that's shown both in our student body and all of our faculty and staff. You can be a scholar and an athlete and a musician and an artist and a linguist. And that is just so exciting for kids, and also I think for staff to know that they can also have the freedom and sometimes even the expectation to go in many different directions.
I think for me, it's the fact that the community is always thinking about how can we continue to strive for excellence in whatever it was. There's rarely a sense of complacency at the individual level. It's I can be better, and even if people are performing at a remarkably high rate, there's still a desire to grow and to continue to improve, whether it's the delivery of a lesson or the execution of coaching, whatever it is. People are looking to become their very best version of themselves, and whatever they are working with reflects that.
I feel like I work alongside a bunch of kindred spirits. We're all really engaged in what we do. We work really hard. We strive to do better. But just the people, they keep you going. They're motivating. They're interesting. They're smart. And I mean everyone. I mean the kids, the parents. It just is a very exciting place.
What steps can I take, or in what kind of leadership positions can I take to support your work as teachers and working with young people here?
One thing that comes to mind for me, and this goes back to what you were mentioning as a priority of just kind of continuing the trajectory that we're on, is continuing to support the level of professional development that's been provided to us. I've benefited from, assistance with my graduate degree. I've traveled to the Galapagos Islands. I've had really professionally enriching and personally enriching experiences that have just enabled me to double and triple down, like my commitment to the profession, and it's kept me excited about coming into the classroom each day.
Yeah, and in addition to that point, I think the opportunity for faculty to highlight their ability, whether that's through conference presentations or oftentimes we'll see faculty up in front of the upper school or middle school talking about work that they've done. And I think that's a terrific opportunity to applaud faculty outside of the classroom in kind of a public forum.
Thank you, Jay, for our time together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.